The new version of the Jeep Compass was launched in South Africa very quietly about a year ago and slipped onto the market. Unmistakably Jeep with the 7 squared sections on the front grille over here that tell you it's Jeep all the way. You can see pretty nice ride height at the front with a nice skid plate effect over there, because although this is a medium family SUV, there's something that you look over here on the side that tells you something very, very important. And you've got to remember that fact. Trail rated. That means a lot in Jeep speak. You can see the very squared off wheel arches over here. Nice and squared with cladding across the bottom of the doors, of course, to give you that off-road effect and that off-road ability. And you've got nice big wheels over here, 17 inches on there. And you can see it is a pretty tough looking vehicle all round. Lots of little trim effects and little features, and you open up the back door over here and you will see driver's seat is set for myself. It's got very good space in the rear. You have got a USB and a 12-volt socket in the rear for the rear passengers, as well as aircon vents in the center over there, which are very important, very useful. Isofix on the 2 outer rear seats. Again, as a family vehicle, you like to see a feature like that. And the leather upholstery, as you can see, full leather upholstery in this top of the range model with a red counter stitching, just to give you a nice effect over there. You come around to the back, of course you've got the black floating roof effect, as they like to call it, with built-in roof racks over there and quite a nice spoiler over the top of the tailgate over here. Something quite unusual I found was you do have automated opening on the boot, which is nice and useful. Of course, not that important. And under the boot floor over here, you can see, for a change, you actually have a full-size spare wheel. That really makes a change these days on most cars, and especially if you are going to go 4x4ing, you want to know that. It does, of course, reduce boot size a little bit, and, well, the test car certainly didn't have any shelf for the rear over here, but I don't think that's important. But something I did find very strange is if you look over here, you press this button here and step back, because that's where you close the rear hatch as opposed to on the trailing end of the hatch. I suppose it's not important, but it's something to keep in mind. Again, you've got big black effect to the bumper, and you can see the ground clearance, which is important, about 210 or so mils of ground clearance on this model. Most important, look there. I mentioned trail rated 4x4 because, yeah, this model does have 4-wheel drive, and that is very, very important. Let's check inside. Moving to the interior and the instrumentation, you can see we've done 483 kilometers on this test and showing 10.6 liters per 100. You can scroll through, of course, like you normally do, using the buttons on the steering wheel for, of course, the instrumentation. Over here you've got the cruise control, and it is an adaptive cruise control system as well, so that is a nice extra feature to have on this top range model. Keep in mind over there. But something I did find very, very strange was when you look at the center screen over here, and it's quite a comprehensive screen, and for example, you've got full navigation, you've got media, you've got everything you'd want to even use your climate control and fan speeds and cooling for the driver's seat and passenger seat all on the screen over here. But something I could not find anywhere, and maybe it's me, is in order to adjust the volume on the radio, it seems like the only place you can do it is there. And I did find that somewhat strange and unusual on this vehicle. I don't know, maybe I just missed it, I'm not sure, but I found it very, very strange. But anyway, you come down over here, you've got your very effective climate control system over there that works nicely, dual zone, and then down here, let's have a look. Well, auxiliary in a nice spot over there, I really like that, and you've got a 12-volt. Then, something on this vehicle that very few of its competitors have. I mentioned the 4x4 and I mentioned the trail rated. Well, you have 4-wheel drive low, you have hill descent control, and you even have a 4-wheel drive diff lock over there with different programs for auto, which I just left it in snow, sand, mud, and rock. So the difference with this vehicle as opposed to most other medium SUVs that are available in South Africa is that the low range, the 4x4 with low range. Sorry to report that I did not test the low range or off-road at all on this test this time. Just sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't happen, and this time it didn't. So I can only attest to the car on the road. You see the dashboard, it's sort of molded, but it is hardish plastic, but it's certainly nothing wrong with the quality. The infotainment screen nicely integrated, things like that are there. Very, very nice. You come down over here. This is one of the positives and negatives of this vehicle as far as I'm concerned. It's a 9-speed automatic gearbox. 9-speed. Why I say it's a positive and a negative is it's modern technology. It's certainly very smooth in its shifts. You don't feel the shifts, things like that. But I've got to say it does tend to hunt a lot. And there are a lot of occasions when you're cruising along on a freeway, it doesn't seem to quite know what gear it wants to be in. Maybe I just need to get a bit more used to it, but it is something that kind of stood out to me on this test. You've got an electronic parking brake over here as well. So those are useful features. You've got a very, very small bin storage area over here between the two seats. It is a bit small, and standard on this model is a nice panoramic sunroof with, of course, blind that opens and closes. So that's a nice extra feature. The leather steering wheel with, again, the red stitching, which is prominent everywhere, and you've got electric adjustment on both drivers and passenger front seats. So those, again, are good features to have. There's even a memory function on the driver's seat over there. All nice features. Well, the Compass, the 4x4 Trailhawk, is powered by a 2.4 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine. It puts out 129 kilowatts and 229 newton meters of torque. So it's got enough power, but what is interesting is there's no turbo on it. And it is a slightly older-fashioned, bigger 4-cylinder engine with no turbo. So again, between that and the 9-speed automatic gearbox that, as I said, doesn't quite know what gear it wants to be in on occasions, just think before taking a very tight overtaking gap or something like that. It's more the slower, slightly lazier, maybe more old-fashioned style. Nothing wrong as long as the driver is very aware of that. Lower down in the range you can get the Fiat 1.4 turbo engine if you do require that one, which obviously has a little bit more pep lower down anyway with the turbo. Those are choices, of course, you always make for yourself. Cost at the moment? Well, this one comes in at about 605,000 Rand right now at current prices, and that does include a 3-year, 100,000 kilometer maintenance plan. Not service plan like a lot of its opposition as well. Remember the difference between service and maintenance plans. That does come into your costing factors as well always, and is an important number to keep in mind. It's an interesting one to compare to the market because size-wise and performance-wise, it does certainly have a lot of competitors like the Toyota RAV4, the Mazda CX-5, and there's so many others. The VW Tiguan has to come into it, etc., etc. There are lots of them. But this is the only one I can think of right now that has four-wheel drive, and particularly four-wheel drive with low range. So that is something that if you are really going to use dirt roads a lot or off-road it, and you can off-road with a trail rating, then it goes into a different area, and maybe Subaru would be one brand one could look at there as a competitor. But again, you've got to just check out, it's always apples with apples, and you've got to be very careful. You are comparing very competitive and comparative vehicles when you compare. The only other thing I will comment on is I did think that the fuel consumption, because of the permanent four-wheel drive, is on the higher side, but I think careful driving, depending on your usage and the circumstances, are always going to make a difference. Jeep is Jeep. Jeep has its reputation, and Jeep will always be linked and thought of in the same thought as vehicles that do allow for going off-road. And if it says trail rated, you know that you should be able to do some good off-roading in this one. As always, the choice is yours. For Mad Matters, I'm Eleanor, and I'll see you next time.